The Raheem Sterling thing is different though, because we're talking about racism. We're not talking about exploiting the weakness of an opponent. We're talking about dog whistle racism, and we're talking about outward, obvious, in-your-face racism. So at that point, there becomes no excuse for anyone to play on that kind of weakness and to believe and absorb what the tabloids are telling them about Raheem Sterling, because racism is the greatest evil in our society, and there's just no excuse for it. So when Raheem Sterling, for example, goes to Burnley, he's got no form with Burnley. He's done nothing to Burnley supporters. Burnley fans booing Raheem Sterling is inexcusable for that reason. And that's not quite the same as what happened to David Beckham. But I think the most sensible people, of course, can see what the tabloids are doing with Raheem Sterling, and not just Raheem Sterling. After England lost to Iceland, I think Carl Walker got hounded for, I think he said he'd rather be on holiday than be with England, or something like that, a text message he sent, and Dele Alli went on holiday, and that was unacceptable. And whereas Roy Hodgson, for example, who, if you were to say who was at fault for England getting beaten by Iceland, I would certainly say most of the blame there goes to Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson mainly got away without that kind of aggravation. Harry Kane mainly got away without that kind of aggravation. And it was actually the players of colour who sort of bore the brunt of the tabloid fury for that, for their insubordination during the competition, and then for daring to enjoy themselves after the competition. And I think most people are able to see that for what that is. And what you've got now is you've got an England team that is full of players of colour and full of white players, but also full of players of colour, but is more likeable than any England team has been for a long time. And most sensible people are able to see, actually, these guys are putting it all out there. They're enjoyable to watch. They actually give the sense that they're enjoying themselves. And I think that's quite important as a supporter as well, that where you see that the players of your team are enjoying this amazing privilege, that is quite compelling and quite contagious. And people see that that's what's happening. They've got Gareth Southgate, a manager who's allowing them to express themselves, who doesn't at the moment seem to be bowed by the pressure and bowed by the demands of the press. And what you're seeing is it's actually working quite nicely. They might go and it might be a disaster, but actually the England team are quite a positive advert for England as a country, and they're quite actually the opposite of what the tabloid press have been telling us. And it's quite interesting with the tabloid press because it doesn't come from the sports writers. It comes from people that have just got to write an article. I mean, I don't know quite how the instructions to write this kind of article are dispersed. Go and write something nasty about Raheem Sterling. Can we have a dog whistle about Dele Alli, please? But the sports pages that are read by sports fans are not really like that. And actually, the thing that I'm now thinking is it would be really nice if Gareth Southgate said, do you know what, Male, do you know what, son? I'm not going to give you any interviews. You're banned from all my press conferences, so you stop racially abusing my players. And I think if Gareth Southgate did that, I think there'd be quite a lot of support for him, because the sense that you get is that people have enough of this.
That would be amazing. I can't see it happening just yet, because the fear of retribution and the backlash as soon as anything goes wrong would be, you know, it's so predictable that that backlash would be so violent and so virulent that Southgate would be really risking something. And yet it feels like maybe this is a moment in history where people are actually willing to take those risks. You think about what's happening in the States with their athletes standing up and taking a stand and actually standing for something that they believe in. That maybe Southgate and this England team might be capable of doing that.